Supercharge your conversation vocabulary with active listening. It's the natural way to learn. Would you like to improve your conversational vocabulary without memorizing lists of random words which you can never remember or use? In today's video, I'm going to dive into an incredibly powerful yet often overlooked method for expanding your vocabulary: active listening during conversations. Whether you're learning English as a second language or looking to enhance your English vocabulary, this technique is a game changer. So let's get started. Hi there, it's Herbert Lee here. I've been an English teacher for almost 20 years. During that time, I've created many courses that have helped my students make rapid progress and speak with native-like ability. One of the things that many of my students struggled with was learning more vocabulary so that they could improve their conversation skills. Most of my students tried to improve their vocabulary by memorizing lists of vocabulary. Most could not sustain this, and the words they learned were not useful in everyday conversation. So I did some research to find better ways to learn vocabulary. I even developed a course called Power Vocabulary. It didn't just give lists of words to memorize. It taught learners a better way to learn vocabulary more easily. In this video, I'm sharing this method with you. Let's get started. This is a natural approach. Before we begin into the specifics, let's take a moment to consider how we all learned our first language. As a child, you didn't sit down with flashcards or vocabulary lists. No, you absorbed language naturally through constant exposure and interaction. You listened without speaking for a year and a half. 2,500 to 3,000 hours without saying a single word. You just listened. You learned by listening to your parents, siblings, and the world around you. This natural approach is what we're going to tap into today. Like I've just said, we learned our first language vocabulary by exposure and interaction. That's the key. Exposure. Research into vocabulary learning tells us that it takes 15 to 20 repetitions to put a word into our short-term memory. This is also called our passive vocabulary. These are words that we know but do not use. Only when we hear the word being used frequently, it goes from our passive vocabulary into our active vocabulary. That's why active listening is so important. Active listening improves your active vocabulary. Active vocabulary are the words we actually use in writing and speaking. Active listening during conversations is essentially recreating that immersive environment that you experienced as a child when you learned your first language. It's about engaging with language in its most authentic form, everyday speech. By doing this, you're not just memorizing words, you're also learning how they're used in real-life contexts. So, what is active listening? What exactly is active listening? It's much more than just hearing words. It's about fully concentrating on what's being said. When you actively listen, you're not just waiting for your turn to speak. You're fully present, absorbing not just the words, but also the tone, context, and small details of the conversation. Active listening involves giving your full attention to the speaker, showing that you're listening through nonverbal cues, providing feedback through questions or comments, deferring judgment and avoiding interrupting, and responding appropriately. Here's why active listening works for vocabulary building. So I know you might be wondering, how does this help me learn new words? Well, there are several reasons why active listening is so effective for vocabulary acquisition. First, authenticity. You're hearing words used in real-life situations, not artificial examples from a textbook. You learn context. Words do not exist in isolation. Through conversations, you learn how words relate to each other and how they're used in different situations. Repetition. Common words and phrases will naturally come up repeatedly, reinforcing your learning without any conscious effort. Pronunciation. You'll hear the correct pronunciation from native or fluent speakers, which is crucial for proper usage. Colloquialisms and idioms. Many expressions can't be learned from a dictionary or a textbook. Active listening exposes you to colloquial language and idioms that are part of normal everyday speech. Motivation. Learning through real conversations is often more engaging and motivating than rote memorization, trying to memorize lists of words. You're not just reading words, you're hearing them, seeing the body language, and often using them yourself, which engages multiple senses and strengthens the memory. Here's how to get started with active listening to improve your vocabulary. Now that you understand why active listening is so powerful, let's talk about how you can implement this strategy effectively. First, learn to be present. The first step is to truly engage in conversations. Put away any distractions like your phone and give your full attention to the speaker. Focus on unfamiliar words. While listening, make a mental note of words or phrases you don't recognize or fully understand. Use context clues. Don't interrupt the flow of a conversation to ask about every new word. Instead, try to figure out the meaning from the context of the discussion. What are the words before and after the word as the speaker used them? Ask for clarification. When appropriate, ask for explanations of unfamiliar terms. Most people are happy to elaborate or provide synonyms. Repeat new words. If you learn a new word, try to use it later in the conversation. This helps solidify the meaning in your memory. Write it down. After the conversation, jot down any new words or phrases that you've encountered. This creates a personal vocabulary list based on real-life usage. Follow-up. Look up precise definitions of the words you've noted. This combines active learning with traditional study methods. Practice active recall. In future conversations, challenge yourself to use any new words that you've learned. This reinforces your learning and helps move words from passive to active vocabulary. Where can you practice active listening? The beauty of this method is that opportunities for learning are everywhere. Here are some great places to practice your active listening skills. Workplace conversations. Pay attention to the specific vocabulary used in your professional field. Social gatherings. Casual conversations with friends can introduce you to more colloquial language. Academic discussions. If you're a student, classroom discussions are a gold mine for subject-specific vocabulary. Public transportation. Learn to be a spy. Overheard conversations can expose you to a diverse language range. You learn lots of words from random conversations. TV shows and movies. While not direct conversation, dialogues in media can also be great sources for active listening practice. Podcasts and radio shows. These often feature natural conversations and interviews. Interviews are a good choice to learn conversational vocabulary because interviews are a dialogue between two people. Community events. Attend local meetings or events to hear language used in various contexts. Online forums and social media. While written, these platforms often use conversational language that can be valuable for your learning. Common vocabulary to listen for. When you're starting out with this method, it can be helpful to have some focus areas. Here are some categories of words to keep an ear out for. Transition words. Listen for words that connect ideas like however, moreover, or consequently. Descriptive adjectives. Pay attention to how people describe things, people, or situations. Action verbs. Notice the specific verbs people use instead of generic ones like do or make. Idiomatic expressions. These can be challenging to learn from books, but are common in everyday speech. Professional jargon. Every field has its own vocabulary. Listen for industry-specific terms. Filler words and phrases. While not always grammatically necessary or grammatically correct, these can make your speech sound more natural. And remember to think about emotional language. Words used to express feelings or reactions can also greatly enhance your expressive abilities. Time-related words. Phrases used to discuss schedules, deadlines, or temporal relationships. If you're enjoying this session and would like to know more about how to improve your conversation skills quickly, be sure to get a copy of my research report, 5 Biggest Mistakes in English Conversation. I've done extensive research into the art and science of effective conversation. If you want to improve your conversation skills quickly, you need to get this report. Just go to the link in the description below to get your copy. I know you're going to enjoy put it into action and watch your communication skills skyrocket. Here's how to overcome some of the challenges you may face. Like any learning method, active listening for vocabulary building can come with its own challenges. Here's how to overcome some challenges. Overwhelm. If you're in an environment with lots of new vocabulary, focus on just a few words at a time. Quality over quantity. Shyness. If you're hesitant to ask for clarification, start with close friends or family members who won't judge you. Here's a really big one. Fast speakers. Don't worry if you miss things. It's normal. Focus on what you can understand, and gradually you'll be able to keep up with more. Lack of opportunities. If you're learning a language with just a few native speakers around, look for language exchange partners online or join language learning communities. But here's the key. Try to listen more and speak less if you want to improve your vocabulary. Forgetting. Regular review of your noted words is the key. That little notebook you carry with words that you're trying to learn will really be helpful. Consider using spaced repetition techniques or flashcard apps to reinforce your learning. Misunderstandings. If you realize you've misunderstood a word's meaning, don't be discouraged. Mistakes are a natural part of the learning process. Here's how to measure your progress. Tracking your progress can be highly motivating. Here are a few ways to measure your vocabulary progress. Keep a running list. Maintain a list of new words on a small notebook that you've learned and review it from time to time. Have a journal. Write short entries using your new vocabulary. This helps track how your usage evolves over time. Record yourself. Occasionally record yourself speaking and notice if you're using a wider range of vocabulary. And finally, take some vocabulary tests. While not the main focus, occasional tests can provide a quantitative measure of your progress. Ask for feedback. Have friends or language partners give you feedback on your vocabulary usage. And there you have it. Active listening during conversations is a powerful, natural way to expand your vocabulary. It's how we all learned our first language, and it's an effective method for continuing to grow linguistically throughout your life. Remember, every conversation is an opportunity to learn. Stay curious, stay engaged, and watch your vocabulary flourish. If you're excited to try this method, why not start right now? Set a goal to learn 3 new words from your very next conversation. Share these words in the comments, and let's learn together. Thank you for watching this video. If you found it helpful, please like and subscribe for more language learning tips. And don't forget to share your own experiences with active listening in the comments below. See you in the next video.